I'm Maya from Naturally Improving Me, and today I'm going to be answering a video request. It was sort of like a comment/request. It asked if I could do the bound lotus pose, which I can, and if so, then what stretches are best to achieve it. Now, I wrote down the 5 best stretches to achieve the bound lotus pose, and I'm going to show you what those are. Now, before I do that, I'm going to just put a disclaimer out there. The lotus pose, half lotus, bound lotus, any type of lotus pose, it requires you to already have a certain level of flexibility, self-control, and body strength. Now, these stretches help you get into that, but make sure that you can do these stretches in a way that you won't hurt yourself before attempting to do the actual yoga pose. Now, my favorite stretch to, stretch the areas that you're going to be using for the bound lotus pose is the bound ankle pose. Put it back up. You're just sitting like this, and you're holding your ankles. And you're going like this. This is the original bound ankle pose. I like a variation of it where your hands are straight forward in front of you, and you're reaching forward because it stretches your knees, hips, and ankles further than it would if you're just sitting right here. Also stretches your shoulders. If you can, try to basically get your head as close to the floor as you possibly can. I can touch my head on the floor when I go forward, and I'm trying to even extend it further to where my shoulders become flat against the floor like my head. Well, that was the first one. The second one is the square pose. The square pose is like a half lotus pose, sort of. It's where your legs are sort of forming a square. This one's straight across, and this one straight across. It's like your legs are forming a square in front of you. Alright. It's like sort of square. Now you want to make sure that the heel of your foot is touching your hip on the opposite side of your body. The front of your foot should be past the side of your body, as you can see, and the heel of your foot should be right on the hem of your hip. Now, you can do the same thing as with the bound ankle pose. You can lean forward. Now, when you lean forward, it really stretches both of your knees, especially the one that's elevated on the side of your hip. Lean forward. This is a good stretch for your knees. Now, if you have any injuries, spine injury, neck injury, ankle, knee, if you can't really stretch very far, I'd say do as much as you can without hurting yourself or pulling something. Because when you're doing these sort of poses, you really want to make sure that you're doing it safely and correctly, but you also want to make sure that when you're doing it, you're not going to injure yourself, basically, or injure yourself further if you already are injured. Now, I'm going to switch over to the other leg, achieve the square pose this way. This knee is a little less flexible than the other one, and like I said, with the bound ankle pose, you can even try to go down and touch your head to the floor. Now, with any of the lotus poses, the half lotus, original lotus, or bound lotus, it opens your hips, stretches your knees, ankles, spine, upper and lower back. It also stretches your wrist and your shoulders. So those are the areas that, if you want to learn how to do the pose, that you really need to work at. Alright, now the third pose is the cross-leg seated position. Basically, you're crossing your legs like this. You can put your hands on your hip and press down to stretch your shoulders and the upper part of your back. You can reach forward like with the other poses and try to touch your head to the floor. When you touch your head to the floor, you can really feel it in your shoulders, stretching your shoulders, so that's probably the best one for your shoulders. Now for your ankle, I'm going to show you. Behind, while you're still in the cross leg position, you can like sort of waffle your fingers and reach it upward. This is going to stretch your arms and your wrist, which is also another part that's going to be stretched when you're doing the bound lotus pose. Alright, now one of the best stretches for your ankles and knees is the hero pose. It's basically your feet are flat on the ground, your calves, your ankles, your feet, and your knees are together. And you sort of sit on the balls of your feet. You just sort of stay there. Now, the balls of your feet aren't really the most comfortable seat in the world, so I don't keep this position very long because it's uncomfortable. But it will stretch your knees, your ankle, and your leg. Alright, now another pose that I'm going to be showing you is the head of knee pose. Basically, you're going to form an L. This leg is going to be the short part of the L. this leg is going to be the long part of the L. Now this is my less flexible leg, so I'm going to try to reach forward, and basically you want to try to get your head as close to your knee as you possibly can. This is going to definitely stretch the under part of your knee and your foot and your shoulder, so it's also good for doing that type of pose. Alright, now I'm going to do the same with the other leg. Form an L, chin across. Now with this one, I can actually grab it with both my hands and touch my head to my knee while keeping my leg straight on the ground, which is why this leg is a little more flexible than the other. I'm pretty sure that was it. I think I covered all 5. If not, then however many I showed you are the best for achieving that pose. Now I'm going to show you what the different kind of lotus poses look like. Now this one is the half lotus pose. It is sort of like the square pose that I showed you before. Alright, the heel of your foot is aimed upward and touching the side of your hip. The front part of your foot is already past the side of your body. This is the half lotus. Now the full lotus is sort of like that. You cross your other leg up on your hip and you press your knees together as close as they will go. Now the balls of your feet should be touching the hem of your hip, and the front part of your feet should be past your hip. As you can see, mine are. This one, as I've told you before, is a little less flexible. That's why it doesn't go as far on the other side. Alright, now this is the lotus pose. Now I'm going to show you the bound lotus pose. Reach your arm up. Now the goal here is to grab your big toe with your hands, and this is me doing it. Now the extended lotus pose, you just sort of reach forward, touch your head to the ground, like with the other stretches. If you can't do that, then that's perfectly fine. You don't need to do the extended lotus pose. This is the bound lotus pose. Now, when coming out of the bound lotus pose, don't yank out of it. And while in it, try to breathe as calmly as possible. This pose is mostly used for meditation and controlling your breathing, and just like staying calm is what this, when I do this pose, it's basically to control myself. You have to have a certain level of self-control to do this, because if you tense up or pull out of it, you can end up pulling a muscle or hurting yourself. So how you come out of this is you release one hand at a time, unlock them from each other, and stretch your legs right back out. Now the bound lotus pose is normally held for 30 minutes or more. I'm not going to do that for this video, but I'm just putting another disclaimer out there. When you come out of the pose and you're fully out of it, do not try to stand up straight away if you've been in it for 30 minutes or more. Just shake your feet, massage your legs or feet or whatever, try to get the blood circulation back in it before you just stand up so you don't end up hurting yourself. Now I hope this was helpful to the person that asked the question, or anyone else that wants to know how to do it or what it is or anything like that. So I think that's pretty much it. I will be posting, I think in 4 days. I posted the 30-day splits challenge video 3 days ago, so in 4 days I will be posting the update. I'm going to be posting one once a week until at the end of the 4 weeks. So if you have any other tutorial requests, yoga poses you want to learn, stretches you want to know, tutorial requests, anything like that, you can go ahead and leave it in the comment box. If you have any concerns, corrections, requests, anything like that, you can leave it in the comment box and I will get back to you. So see you in 4 days when I post the 30-day splits tutorial. Bye!